Hello everyone, today I am going to try this vinegar maple pie. I've been meaning to make this for a while to give it a go. I love that it uses just a few ingredients that are very inexpensive to have on hand. There's not a lot of prep or anything like that. The biggest prep is to make sure that you have a pie crust ready to go. You want it fully cooked and cooled. So, I usually love baking my pie crusts. However, today I did have one in the freezer, a pre-made one, and I was feeling a bit lazy. So I went ahead and baked my pie shell, and it is cooling as I speak. The other thing is I am cutting this recipe in half. This actually makes 2 pies. As you can see in the instructions here, it says well ahead of time prepare 2 pie dishes with a single crust pastry according to recipe instructions, and then allow pie shells to fully cool. Well, it's just me and my son here today, and I am just, making this to try out. I think it's going to turn out really good. But, if it doesn't, there's only 2 of us here. And I don't want, there's like not a lot of people to try it out. So having 2 pies would be, on the wasteful side. Plus, I don't care what's in a pie. A pie is a pie, and I don't need to eat, more than a serving a day, maybe for a couple days, and that's it. So, like I was saying, the first thing you want to do is get your pie crust, or if you want to make the double, you can follow this exactly and make 2 pie crusts. And then there's cinnamon, sugar, flour, an egg, vanilla extract, salt, and right now there's also vinegar. I have that chilling in the fridge because the recipe does call for it to be cold. And like I said, I did cut this in half, so I am using 1.5 cups of water, 1 egg, 1/2 cup of sugar, 1.5 heaping tablespoons of flour, a scant pinch of salt, 1.5 tablespoons of cold vinegar, and then on the extract and the cinnamon, I'm not using maple extract. I don't have it on hand, but we love vanilla, and I do have pure vanilla extract, so that's what I'm going to be using. However, because we really love vanilla, and I always add a little bit extra than what any recipe calls for, I have the teaspoon measure out, and I'm just not going to fill it all the way. I am not going to literally, just use 1/2 teaspoon. Also with the cinnamon, again, we love it, and I just made a scant 1/4 teaspoon instead of making it, cutting it in half and using just 1/8. I used the 1/4 teaspoon measure and just didn't really, like I said, it's a scant 1/4 teaspoon of the cinnamon. So let's get this mixing started. Okay, so for mixing the ingredients, you just combine everything in the bowl except for the extract and the cinnamon. So I will start with the egg just in case the egg, shell gets in there or anything. I can take that out without having the other ingredients already in there. So the egg, the flour, the sugar, just a scant pinch of salt, and then the vinegar, and I do have to get that out of the fridge. You want your vinegar to be cold. So that. Okay, now let me just double check. Eggs, sugar, flour, salt, and vinegar. And then you use a whisk to combine. I probably could have used just a bit bigger bowl. Have to be careful not to just plop this off the side of the bowl onto the table here. Just going to give it a good mix. Make sure everything is combined well. It's hard to believe at this point that this and some boiled water is going to make a wonderful cream pie. But it certainly doesn't take much in ingredients, and it's pretty easy to do. The longest thing that's involved in making this pie is the chilling time. It suggests overnight. This one will not be chilling overnight. We will be having it later this evening, probably about 9 o'clock. So it will have a good 5 hours of chilling time, which I'm sure it does say refrigerate for 4+ hours, preferably overnight. So I think the 5 hours would be good. My refrigerator tends to run cold. Okay, so now we're going to take this over to the stove and mix this with the boiling water. Okay, so the water has come to a nice full boil. So I am going to pour the filling mixture into here. And I'm just using a spatula to make sure I get all of it in there. Okay, and then you take your whisk and you continue to boil and you whisk constantly until your mixture thickens. Now it states on the recipe that when the mixture thickly coats the back of a spoon, you can remove it from the heat. But you definitely want to keep the mixture boiling, and you definitely want to continuously whisk. You do not want to walk away from this. Not at all. So I'm going to grab a spoon to keep testing. Now, it states here 6 to 12 minutes, but that was for a full recipe. I did, like I said earlier, I did cut this recipe in half, so it's probably not going to take as long. The original recipe calls for 3 cups of water, and this is only 1.5 cups, so that's quite a bit less. Plus, my stove and oven run hot. My refrigerator runs cold. My stove and refrigerator run hot. So you have to know, you have to know your appliances when it comes to these things. What timing for one person is going to be different for another. I don't think that's there yet. So I will continue whisking this, and I'll show you when it's done, and I'll try to keep track of the time too, to let you know how much a half a recipe, how long that takes to get thick. Okay, so it's been about 4.5 minutes, and I really think this is probably done. I'm just going to dip the spoon in, and I don't know if you can see. Let's see here. See that? See how it coats the back of the spoon, and it's really not even, it dripped once, but it's staying on the spoon nice and thick. I would say that this is done. So you want to take it off the heat. And now you want to stir in your cinnamon and your choice of extract. Maybe just another drop. Okay. Now I'm going to whisk this in. Oh my goodness, it smells delicious. Try to get all this cinnamon incorporated before I strain it. It's amazing to me. There was an egg in here. You would have thought that you'd have more bits of egg, but I don't see much in here. I'm definitely still going to strain it though. You want a nice, smooth, creamy custard, not anything, with any bits in it or anything like that. Okay, so I will turn this around so you can watch me. I don't know how much that's going to show, but here is what I'm using, just this, I use it as a colander, but it's like a fine metal, screen type. So it'll let the liquid through, but it will hold back any of the little bits. And I think what I'm going to do is grab another pan here, set this in the sink, and I'll show you what I'm doing here. The pan, and then the sieve on top, so I can take the mixture and pour it in using a spoon and not have to worry about holding the strainer at the same time. I want to make sure I get all of this, cleaned out as much as possible. Okay, I think I better put some water in there so it doesn't stick. You always want to, at least, even if you can't wash it right away, you want to run some water into your pans. It'll make cleanup 100% easier. Okay, now this has pretty much all drained through. I'm just going to try to push some of this other stuff through that puddled at the bottom. Okay. All right. And I don't know if it's going to show up on camera very well, but here, I'll just dump that in. As you can see, there is some, I don't know how well that's showing up, but there is a little bit of, a little bit of clumpy stuff there. You wouldn't want that in your pie. Okay, put that in the water. All right, now I'm going to go get the pie shell that I have cooling. Okay, and I'm going to pour this in. Oh, you're kidding me. Okay, well, I'm going to be very honest with you. The recipe calls for 2 pie shells. And look at this, people. That's not a pie. That's not a full pie. I'm going to need, for sure, another batch of the mixture, which means I'm going to have to go ahead and mix up another batch. Now, I'm not going to film the second batch. I'm not going to refrigerate this yet. I'm sure it'll be fine putting another batch on top, mixing it in. That's not going to be a problem. When I get to that point, I'll turn the camera back on. But I'm glad I am doing this on the camera for you, because, it said, the recipe clearly said 2 pie shells, and I don't know what you would do with the other pie shell because the mixture is going to, you know, as the recipe states, the mixture is going to fit 1 pie shell, not 2. So I'm going to go ahead and mix up that other batch. Okay, so as promised, I went ahead and made another batch of the filling. It has started to set up just a little bit. I'm just going to kind of disturb the top layer here, just so it mixes in with this. Now there's, you know, there's not really any like skin formed on the top that's going to mess this up, but I do want to just, like I said, just mix it up a little bit. Now, this is not something you're going to have to do. As I said, the recipe is stated wrong. I reread that recipe a dozen times since I made the first batch, and I am positive I'm not reading it right. I'm missing something. It stated in the beginning of the recipe to prepare 2 pie shells. Well, I figured because it says to prepare 2 pie shells and it's a 1 shell pie, that the recipe would make 2 pies. Well, as you remember in the video earlier, I made the batch, cutting it in half, and it barely filled the pie halfway. I made a second batch, and oddly enough, it's still not, as you can see, it's still, I mean, I would prefer it to be even more full. I don't know if maybe this mixture expands a little bit when it's refrigerated. I sincerely do not think it was going to expand so much, though, as to be okay with just the 1 batch that I had made. So the next step is to put this in the fridge and give it about, at least 4 hours. I'm going to be giving it a good 5 hours, and I'll be back later and we'll check out what it looks like, and we'll give it the ultimate test, the taste test. So see you in a bit. Hi everyone, I am back with the final verdict on the vinegar pies, or the vinegar pie I should say. I will give you a close-up. As you can see, it did not turn out as thick as I would have liked. You can see there's quite a bit more room here around the edge of the pie for it to be filled up. And as I had said, or I was mistaken in the beginning by reading the recipe, it made it seem like it was going to be a 2 pie recipe. So I had cut the recipe in half and only made, half a recipe for the filling. And, if you did watch the whole video, you realize that I ended up with like about half of what's in here now. So I went ahead and made a second batch of the filling and filled it, and that's still all I got. Now I'm really not sure why the recipe states that, let me grab the recipe here and show it to you again. I will have this down in the info box, as I said before, but it says 1 quart water or 3 cups to shorten boiling time. Now, I had cut the recipe in half because, as it states down here, well ahead of time, prepare 2 pie shells. Well, 2 pie shells, this is a custard pie. It is not a pie that you put a top on. So I figured, well, I better cut the recipe in half. I only want to make 1 pie. Well, I did that, and I used 1.5 cups of the water to begin with, because that's half. And then I ended up making another 1.5 cups, and it's still, it just didn't make enough. So, you know, I'm not quite sure what's going on. I think the more I look at this recipe, because I've been studying it all evening and wondering, and it's finally coming to me, I really believe that the 2 pie shell, the 2 pie dishes is just a typo or a mistake, and the 1 quart of water would be best because some of it boils away, it boils down, and you have to, because it's mainly just water, it does end up boiling down by the time it gets nice and thick. So maybe if you go ahead and use the quart of water, you're going to end up with enough filling. So I don't know, but regardless, it does taste good. It's got a light, you really don't taste the vanilla. I use pure vanilla extract, and I did add just a little more. I always do with anything with vanilla in it. But you do taste, it's just a light creamy flavor. It's kind of almost a fresh creamy flavor. And you do taste the cinnamon. It is very good. I mean, if you want a dessert and you're low on ingredients or low on time, you don't want to fuss, this is really a great recipe, and it really is inexpensive. You know, just a couple eggs, a cup of sugar, flour, salt, vinegar, and you do not taste the vinegar, not at all. You would never know it's in there. The only way someone would know is if they saw you put it in. So, yeah, I think I am going to try this again. And I will go ahead and probably try a different extract. I may try lemon. I do have some lemon extract in the house. I may try that one next time. And I think I would also like to try the full quart of water and see if that's going to make a difference. So there you have it. It looks good. It does taste good. I do wish there was more filling, but that's about the only drawback to this recipe that I can say. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you would like me to, you know, if there's a recipe that maybe you've been trying that, or wanting to try, that you don't want to do yourself, let me know, and I'll see if I can't make this a type of series where I try recipes and then, you know, give my opinion on it. So like the video, comment below, and I'd love it if you became my newest subscriber, and have a great day. Bye-bye.